there's this opportunity to go teach in Africa, in Ghana
Interesting.
for a year. Did digital marketing for a year. This is this is the pivotal shift of when I actually started getting involved into kind of technology. The owners essentially were caught for wiring over $100 million worth of money, and now they're in federal prison. At the beginning, it was kind of like a shotgun approach where we were taking anything and anyone on.
It's crazy to me that I can't take any inspiration from people younger than me.
I feel like a lot of people who burn themselves out, they try doing everything all at once. Just for those who are, in that kind of analysis paralysis state of just like, I just need to create one more tweak to my software. I just need to learn one more thing. Like, just dive into it. You'll figure it out. You'll hear what actual pain points are from companies, and you'll be very surprised of what solutions actually need to be implemented. Just roll with the punches. So
Yeah, awesome. Well, I'm first and foremost, Connor. I'm really I'm grateful you're able to be here today and give me your time on this amazing Sunday morning here. So man, I really appreciate it. I'm grateful you're able to share some of your morning with us. So thank you very much for doing the show, man. Appreciate it.
yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. Honored to be here. So
Awesome. Well, with that, I'll kind of kick us off. Take us through kind of your transition leaving post-secondary school, like what that time frame looked like for you to where we are now, and then we can go back through it and
yeah,
fine tune some things, figure some things out.
absolutely. So um in college, I went to Fresno State, got an ag business degree, thought I was going to become a produce broker. Very last semester, I kind of was thinking about, hey, I need to go a different direction. This organization called AgriCorps, they came into one of our classes and pretty much said, hey, if you're interested in, teaching, there's this opportunity to go teach in Africa, in
Interesting.
Ghana for a year. And it'll be a great way for you to add something to your resume, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, hey, this is a perfect time to like really do a hard shift in my life to like try to do something different in regards to a kind of like professional shift. So I went ahead, applied, got in, and then essentially went to Ghana to go teach agriculture for the span of this program.
Geez.
Um, yeah, so while I was there, super amazing. Got to work at a elementary school and junior high. Got to teach, plant science, how gardening, all the fun
Yeah.
things. And then while I was there, had a goofy accident where accidentally broke my leg,
No.
and that kind of you know, at the time, I kind of just laughed about it. I'm like, of course this would happen to me, in a different country and, all that fun stuff. But at the same time, I had a pretty positive outlook on it.
Yeah.
Like everybody treated me incredibly nice. I had a bunch of free time on my hands after I would teach to like actually just relax and kind of just like get some rest and
Yeah.
have my leg heal. And I was like, what? Like, I've always been interested in digital marketing.
Hmm.
Might as well teach myself some digital marketing skills on my off time while I'm not teaching. So,
Hmm.
while I was relaxing, took a couple Photoshop and Adobe Illustrator courses. And essentially, once the program ended, I was like, hey, like, I didn't really think that I was going to be interested in this type of stuff. But now going on this trip, it kind of caused a shift in my thinking of what's possible, what's not,
Really?
and just applied for a digital marketing job.
Yeah.
So did that. I took like a super like the company I worked for was amazing, but it was like a really like the salary was very minimal. But I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, this is just kind of get my foot in the door, build up my resume,
Hmm.
and it was a great opportunity. So did digital marketing for a year for um, a agency that essentially owned a trade or food trading show.
Mm.
Um, did project management and digital marketing for them for about a year. And then, things kind of shifted around COVID. The company actually ran out of money to continue that program. They were gracious enough to keep me on until essentially I found another job. And this is when, like, this is the pivotal shift of when I actually started getting involved into kind of technology.
Hmm.
Was a startup here in town uh, that's no longer existent. Their name is Bitwise Industries. I'll go into that a little bit later. Uh,
Yes.
but they were hiring for data entry specialists to kind of help speed run a project that they were working on to help provide resources to individuals negatively impacted by COVID and the pandemic.
Hmm.
So after about a month of working on that project, everyone's like, yo, like, you're really good at this. And like, you're training like hundreds of people also how to do data entry on Salesforce. Like,
Yeah.
we want you to kind of like help manage this project. Like, there was a project manager, but then, they went through a couple. And I was like, oh, like, okay, like, that sounds great.
Yeah.
So
Sweet.
yeah, they ended up hiring me on, worked there for about 3 years, managing anything from website projects to custom applications. And then, the owners essentially were caught for wiring over $100 million worth of money. And now they're in federal prison. So,
Damn.
yeah.
And you
So
knew those people.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
and the thing is, like, like, they seem like really great people. The mission of their company
Yeah.
was pretty neat in retrospective. Like, they would hire a lot of like minority people who wouldn't typically get tech jobs
Mm.
and help kind of train them up to become full-time developers, full-time marketing individuals, and so on. But, you know, I think originally they started out with good intentions, and then the minute that they saw that they were getting a lot of attention for this type of mission and like money was coming in, I think their mind shift kind of shifted and they got a little
Yeah.
greedy, and it's just a domino effect. So,
Damn.
but yeah, during that time, I've always wanted to start my own kind of like web and app development company.
Mm.
But the thing is, I couldn't at that time because it would have been contradicting, or it would have been conflicting interests with that company.
For sure.
And I've signed a contract pretty much saying like I can't be taking clients from them, which makes sense.
Hmm.
Um, but after that, uh, I've had a really good relationship with this developer out in Arizona for multiple years. I was having him and one of his buddies work on a social media app concept for me, and
Interesting.
that kind of pivoted. And then we
Yeah.
essentially just said, hey, let's go dive head into starting our own web and app company and just see where this thing goes. So, um, during the day, I'm working as a 9 to 5 IT project manager for Fresno Unified School District. And then, early mornings, evenings, and weekends, I'm working on my web app and AI automation firm. So that's where we are today. I know it's kind of like I did a quick kind of like overview of like
Yeah.
all the in betweens, but yeah, that's where we're at today. And I'm trying to get to the point to grow my startup
Hmm.
to where I could work for myself full time, and kind of just showing the journey along the way that, like, for individuals who are working a 9 to 5 job, showing like,
Hmm.
hey, it is possible to start something, build something, and also, get it to a point to where you could potentially quit your job one day and
Right.
have that be your full-time thing. So
Now, I have a few things I want to go back and kind of ask, but I'm curious right now. What is that? Do you have a number in mind in your head that you're like, okay, I need to be pulling X amount out of this right now in order for me to, like, for a certain amount of time sustain. So maybe 3 months, I need to be pulling at least like whatever the minimum, like, your cost of living is. I need to be pulling out that plus 20% every, like, for 3 months or a season or a quarter, right?
y-
Until you're able to pull the trigger. Like, what's that kind of look like?
yeah, so that's yeah, that question, man, is on top of my mind every single
I
day.
can imagine.
And
You're
it is
probably
a
so fired up.
conversation I've had multiple times with like my partners as well, of like,
Hmm.
hey, for this company to be sustainable and for it to be able to bring me on full time, you
Hmm.
know, this is ideally the amount. Because right now we have a CTO who we brought on full time.
Nice.
Um, like we're paying him like very minimally, like just enough to, pay his rent, pay for groceries,
Yeah.
maybe stash away a couple $100 a month, maybe if he's lucky for savings. But he's like,
Nice.
he knows, he's like, hey, I'm a partner in this. Like, of course, I'm gonna take less money than what a typical full stack developer would take because I
Yeah.
know long term, like this is gonna work out.
Yeah. It's an investment for him as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we got him on full time right now. And then we have another partner. He's our CEO, our COO.
Hmm.
He's handling the contracts, handling a lot of the financial stuff, um, making sure, for like tax purposes, we got everything squared away. And also just like kind of like consulting. He's around his 60s. So he's got a little bit more experience in the business world, and
Yeah.
he's gone through it, and he's like, hey guys, like I don't necessarily need the money. I love this type of stuff. Like, and this
Yeah.
is just like really fun for me.
That's
So in
awesome.
order like for us to get to a number that I'm comfortable with, our
Hmm.
my goal, and of course I said I would reevaluate this at the end of the year, and maybe I'm just like, hey, you know what? Stash enough away in the bank, my personal savings, also the business savings. Ideally we want to get to about 25 to $30,000 per month of monthly recurring revenue. So
Right.
that includes maintenance contracts. That includes any like AI automation contracts where we have somebody on a retainer, hosting and maintenance for websites that we built.
Hmm.
So that is like ideally like the perfect number that would be like, hey, that
Yeah.
would be like it would be easy for me to jump ship at that point.
Right. Okay. So between 25, 30, 35K a month, you're looking
Yes.
like if we
Yeah.
can sustain this for a few, like for a season or half a year, then you're like, okay, it's, and I think honestly, I think if you're sustaining 25 and it's only going to keep growing,
Yes.
right, every month, I don't see it like, oh, we hit 25 and go to 22 and then 30. It's like, I don't see it jumping up and down too much like that. I think it only just slowly goes up.
Exactly. And
And
that's the
so
thing. Like
that's
we
awesome.
like of course I'm trying to aim for 30 because like that's like would be amazing. But
Yeah.
at the end of this year, we might be like, let's say we're doing 20K of monthly recurring revenue
Hmm.
and it's like stable. It's like, well,
Yeah.
I know if I put in an additional 8+ hours a day into my business, I could easily transition
Right.
that from 20 to that 30K
40, 50, yeah.
40, 50, exactly. And that's the long-term goal of being like, hey, now like we have a really good foundation in place.
Hmm.
We've done this while I've done my 9 to 5 job. We have consistent
It's
customers. Like we
crazy.
have people now asking us to work with them versus us reaching out to work with people. And
Hmm.
so yeah, that's where I would like to go.
That's awesome. And yeah, if that's what does that look like a this year goal? Does that look like, or is that just that's as soon as we get it?
It's a 2026 year goal.
Nice. Of course.
Like I feel so we started this startup about a year and a half ago, and I
Yeah.
always said when I started it, around like the 3 year mark is like when I really want to just dive straight into it. Like, I mean, I've been diving straight into it since the beginning, but in regards
Yeah.
to like, I put like essentially like a 3 year clock of like, I need to work as hard as possible for the next 3 years. So
Yeah.
that way I am in a position to be able to make that jump.
Nice.
Um,
That's smart.
yeah, and like of course, that everyone's got a different opinion of like, hey, like if, you're gonna start a business, like just dive into it and kind of figure it out, which you can.
Yeah.
Um, and like some people do, and it works out for a lot of people. But then there's other people who are like, hey, let me make sure that like there's a need for my business, there's a demand for my business. Let me make sure
Hmm.
that like I'm not just making really irrational decisions just because I need to make next, month's paycheck,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden we get a deal that's really dirty and it doesn't feel good, and
Yeah. But you almost
it's not
force
an
the,
ideal client where it's like
yeah.
we're at a position now where we're very at the beginning, it was kind of like a shotgun approach where we were taking anything and anyone on. But
Yeah.
now we're like, okay, we know what type of clients we like to work with, and we know what type of clients we want to avoid. And
Nice.
like that's kind of a luxury when you're a startup, where it's like you're not like just taking anything just to pay the bills.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like where we're at now. But yeah, it's
Nice.
definitely a 2026 year goal.
Dude, that's yeah, that's awesome. And it's funny you say that because I think of because I'd worked full time and then I was kind of part timing a construction company. And then I would, like, before I moved out here to Kelowna, and then I remember vividly in that, like, having those exact thoughts where I was like, hey, at what point do I just jump in this full time? And I remember there's a few like kind of things that led up to it. And then I went to to see a bunch of buddies do a movie premiere, and they did a panel, and one of the guys after was talking about how he's like, if he's like, people want to make that jump, or like they want to do something for themselves. I think in this case as well, is like they want to do something for themselves, or they always talk about X and then they don't do it, but because they're just, if they make just enough money to justify it, they make, like, it's just not shitty enough. Their boss just isn't that much of a dick that they're able to make that jump, right? So I was like, oh, so what? We're just gonna wait for it to get worse in order for us to make it better. So that was what I like took away, and then I made the shift, and then I did do where I would part time it, but that part time was taking in clients that you were saying that you're like, we took what we could get because they had work for us and we didn't have that much work. And then all of a sudden, 3 months after running it, you can tell those clients like, hey, this is my price now,
Yeah.
because hey, we just need to be paid that for it to be worth it. Just because you knew the job that they were going to have you do wasn't going to be as ideal or as clean or whatever, or like the just
Yes.
circumstances wouldn't be as good. And then you're able to take that and go, oh well, we have higher rates now, we have a more focused clientele, and you're able to kind of, yeah, filter in who you don't want to work with and all that kind of stuff a bit easier.
Yeah, that's funny, man, that you mentioned that. We that's a shift that we've also been doing in 2026, because a lot of the projects that we took on originally, we were just trying to grow our portfolio, like, and
Hmm.
that's kind of like when you have a startup, you kind of just have to do, what it takes to just get a project and to build up a
Yeah.
portfolio and to get a client base that, you know, you're like, hey, there's projects that I'm going to take on knowing that our company's either going to break even or be slightly negative on, knowing that it'll open up the opportunities for
Yeah.
other larger, much more profitable projects.
Hmm.
And we definitely took on more than our fair share of, especially large projects where we, we, one of them, and, I'll just give this quick example.
Yeah,
we
please.
we estimated that this specific project was going to be about 300 hours, um and we get, as we start diving into this mobile app, ends being a lot more complicated than we anticipated.
Hmm.
The understanding of the project became a little bit more clear as we were diving into it with the client, and then we realized about, like, 150 to 200 hours in, oh, this is going to require another 200 to 300 hours on top of our original estimation. And
Damn.
the thing is, we essentially decided internally, hey, we're not going to screw the client over. This is something that we need to eat because we were so far off on the original estimation,
Hmm.
but it's going to hurt our bank account. So yeah, that project, we went negative about 25,000 to $30,000 of, like, us taking on those costs. So, like, the first, like, and once again, is like, we considered it a very expensive seminar, where we're like, okay, here's all the things that we're gonna do
That's
that
funny.
we don't want to do again. Um, but yeah, man, it was absolutely brutal, to say the least, for our bank account. But that's kind of just some of the things
Oh
that you
man.
need to do to kind of keep clients happy, and also
Hmm.
make sure that you have a good reputation, at least early on. So
Absolutely. And I think that initial reputation is, I think it's the biggest thing, because I was listening to this speech by this guy who's like Jack Armstrong, who's, if you're not familiar, is like the voice of the Toronto Raptors. Like, he's been doing it
okay,
for forever. He's coached whatever, and he has this saying that he opened up this speech he did like a couple last May, and he opened it, dude, with the biggest the biggest moments and most pivotal moments of your career are being made with you not in the room.
yep,
And I was like, oh goodness. And the whole thing was, to your point of, your reputation perceives you, you do the work, like you're not like, oh, let's not screw over the clients, let's dial this in whether we lose or not. Like, this is, it's for the greater good, it's for, overall doing right by the people, right, that we serve. So I think that, yeah, he said that. I'm like thinking of that, reminded me of that. And I was like, oof, yeah, kind of do what you got to do to take care of those people, especially in the beginning.
Exactly. Exactly, man.
I did have one thing every time I think of just starting out and the career decisions being made in front of, the biggest decisions of your career being made when you're not in the room, which is crazy thought. But it kind of was an aha moment for me. But what happened, that I'm curious for you, is what was your first kind of initial sign you wanted to be like working for yourself eventually, or work for, just for you, and like develop something with a team, and like, run your own startup, run your own company, and take it to the moon? When, years ago, when was, did you have any signs or anything when you were as a kid that like you maybe took inspiration from?
Yeah, so I always loved creating things. Like I was always like really big into like YouTube videos, or like
Mhm.
creating YouTube videos, or when like Vine first came out, like I loved like creating Vines. And I was always just like, I loved like a camera, creating videos, and like creating something that I thought created some sort of value, whether that be entertainment or whatever. So
Mhm.
I've always liked creating stuff. But I would say like it wasn't really until I would say after my first job, the first marketing job, I should say, when I got back from Ghana.
Mhm.
Uh, Whereas like I don't like being super dependent on income from a company that's not my own.
That makes sense.
Um, and I also just like anytime I created something of value. So like I used to do videography, just like on the side, just to make some additional cash. Like
Nice.
I always felt way more inspired making money by doing like these projects that people thought were valuable from me. And I
Mhm.
was like, oh, like people would actually pay me to do this type of stuff. Like, and it kind of just like created like a fire from there. So I always was intrigued of starting a business, but it wasn't until probably after college that I was like, I grew the confidence to want to start a company.
Mhm.
And to be honest, I didn't even feel confident enough to start a company until probably after my software or my IT project management job disappeared when I was working for Bitwise Industries. Whereas
Mhm.
like as I worked there, over the years, I got a lot of feedback from my clients just saying like, hey, um, like you've been like the best project manager that we've worked with. Like
Wow.
you could start your own company, and like I feel like people would love to work with you because like you're just such a pleasure to work with.
Mhm.
And so like from there, not only did I learn the framework of like how to manage software projects, but I also learned how to grow relationships with clients, and how to maintain those relationships, and how to manage conflict management. Um, so I would say like, and it would take me about 28 years to build the confidence to finally make that jump, and to understand that hey, I'm fully capable, and anybody's fully capable of starting a company.
Mhm.
But like I always told myself, like, oh, like I'm always like trying to strive for the next promotion, or I'm always trying to do
Yeah.
this. Like it's just like, hey, what happened if you just did this yourself instead? So um,
Mm.
that was kind of like the turning point for me of like over the years building that confidence through these jobs, and hearing feedback from my bosses and also clients of like, hey, like you're really good at your job, and you're like really good at maintaining relationships, and if you ever
Nice.
started your own thing, like you would be really successful. So
Mm.
it took years of hearing that to finally convince myself, okay, if other people are saying it and if other people are doing it, then I can
Yeah.
also, kind of thing. So
For sure. And man, that's so cool. Like, that's a cool like pat on the back that you get from everybody you're working with too. And It's crazy because that's something that hearing that I'm like, well, after it sounds like a compounding thing of confidence where it's like eventually you're
Yeah.
like, well, these people don't need to tell me this at all. And there's so
Yeah.
many times people would give you like compliments that you're like, oh, I could, oh, well, thanks. Which says a lot more than anything about you, right? As a person and as like somebody who could, as a project manager at the time, that you're like, oh, I could pull something off if all these people that don't need to give me this feedback are giving me this feedback. And it's like the writing's kind of on the walls at that point, which is like
Yeah.
super
No,
cool.
thank you, man. But yeah, I was gonna say like it's so wild because like the thing is, I'm like, oh man, I wish I had this confidence when I first graduated college or like even when I was in high school. But the
Hmm.
thing is, like sometimes life has its funny ways of working out and kind of just you get into careers that you didn't really think you would get into. Like once again, I
Yeah.
had a business degree. Like I wasn't expecting to get into technology. Um, but then it's like it kind of works out in your favor, even if it doesn't seem like it at the time. Um, so yeah, I was gonna say it took years of that, and then also like years of doing like side contracted jobs of like websites of working with contractors and stuff. Like I didn't even have my own company. I was just working like a contracted PM
Hmm.
of like, oh, okay, like I've done this several times now on my own outside of a company.
Yeah.
Like, let's start a company now. So yeah, it's kind of unique. But like, I feel like there's a lot of people out there that tell themselves they're not good enough to start a business or they're not qualified to start a business. But it's really just ourselves telling us that. And when you kind of just put yourself in a situation where you're running a business, you
Hmm.
just figure it out,
You
kind
do.
of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you do just figure it out for sure. And that's something that I don't think happens like just out of the blue young. I think that happens like you said, like you have to go through these series of things that, kind of guide you in that direction a bit, like at least from what it sounds like for you or for me, where it's like building confidence in certain things to a point where you almost have no choice but to.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
right. And you're like, oh, we can do this. And it's funny because I was thinking about that, and I think come back to this thought, and you reminded me of it, where it's you said it best too. You're like, where you're, I didn't know I'd be that confident, or being that confident. I was like, oh, I just, where does this come from? I want to be able to have that confidence to run my own thing one day, and then having everything build up to the point where you can now do that is like really cool. And I say that to a lot of people where I'm like, just build confidence. You need examples of compounding, like how compounding interest works, but with confidence. Like you need to be able to just keep stacking, stack wins, stack positive feedback from people you're working with, everything. Take everything you can, do these crazy adventures for a year where you teach in like Africa, right? Like do these things that just stack on, stack on, stack on, that just create like, very confident, focused person. So
Yeah,
smart.
no, I 100% agree with that. And I'm a big believer. Everybody's got their own, moves at their own pace and has their own
Mhm.
path. I'm like on social media, I'm seeing, these 18-year-olds starting their own AI companies and 19-year-olds and 20-year-olds. I'm like, you know what? That like good for them. Like they're
Yeah,
like
man.
starting early and like they're just getting their hands dirty and just going straight into it. I'm like, you know what? Like, unfortunately, like for me, I wasn't that confident as a kid, but now I think what's amazing about social media now is
Hmm.
there's a lot more exposure to people who are doing it and like showing their journey of doing it, and also like showing
Yeah.
like the pain points and the wins. And I think also it just like shows young adults like what is possible now because there's just so much information out there.
There's
And
so much, man.
like you could use AI as a mentor of like, hey, I'm like 18 years old. I want to start a business that does X. Like, what are some like ways I could start now and start building up my portfolio or start building up my services so that way in 3 to 4 years, after I graduate college, like I can have a sustainable business. So um I think it's a really cool world we're living in right now, and it's like really neat to see how many more young entrepreneurs are coming
Hmm.
up and starting their own thing. And yeah, it's inspiring even as like somebody who just turned 30. uh like,
Yeah.
yeah, you guys are like 12 years ahead of me right now, but
Yeah.
it's also very inspiring to see how many people are like just diving into the entrepreneurial world right now on social media.
Hmm. Oh man, it's awesome. It's funny. I was talking about that exact same thing to our mutual friend Max here about this
Yeah,
couple weeks ago, where I'm like, dude, it's inspiring because I'm like, you're younger than I am. Like I'm 29, like we're about
yeah,
similar age, but I'm like, dude, it's crazy that you're so much younger. You're just grinding. I'm like, that inspires me. That gets me fired up to do more and push like harder. Because I'm like, if you're able to do this, like what do I believe that I could push and do? And like we don't know. Nobody knows our ceilings, right? So you put this like weight of, oh man, I'm going to take every inspiration I can from all these people, especially younger people. It fires up like guys who are in their late 20s, early 30s. We're like, oh man, if you're doing all this, like we gotta, like, how can we take everything from you in like a positive way and just channel it to like make the best of everything? And yeah, it's really cool. Pull a lot of inspiration from people like that as well.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's so funny that you mentioned that. I'm like literally like following all these like 22,
Yeah.
23, 24 year olds that are just like going to the wall,
Yeah.
just absolutely grinding. I'm like, damn, like
Dude, it's awesome.
I'm not old, but like, hey, I gotta start grinding like these guys. Like
Yeah.
they're gonna outpace me, man, if I don't pick it up.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's yeah, it you nailed it right on the head. It's definitely inspired.
You don't even realize how old they are too until like you start
I
following them and
know,
you hear them
dude.
just drop it casually and you're like, what's going on? What do you mean you're 23? Like, what's
Yeah.
going on
I'm
here?
like, no, no,
Enough's
no, no,
enough.
no, no, dude.
Yeah.
You gotta be like 28, 29, 30.
Yeah.
Come on, come on.
I'm like, what do you mean you're not? What do you mean you're fresh out of That's weird. Right on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. It's fun to pull like information, like inspiration as well from those people and see what they're doing and how you can kind of also learn from them. And I think it's crazy to me that people, I know somebody from back home, and this is like part of like, just a sprinkle of reasons like leaving, but there are a couple people I know, and I'm thinking of one example specifically where it's like he's a dude in his like mid 30s, late 30s, and he was like, I can't take any inspiration from people younger than me. And
Wow.
yeah, and
Really?
I thought like, and so like there was that mindset between some people I know. I'm like, how do you go about doing that? You're 38 years old. Like guys, they're like later 30s, they're like, they're younger than me. Or even on the job site, it's like, oh, they're younger. They must not know better if they're younger than me. And I thought that like mindset was absolutely insane to wrap my head around. I'm like, that's nuts. And yeah, that
I
was
feel like there's
yeah.
always something that we could learn from like the younger generation, whether it's
Yeah.
like different business models that they're trying to implement or just like technologies that they're using that are more efficient. But yeah, like kind of
Hmm.
like that mentality of like we can't learn anything from people who are younger than us or get inspired by people that are younger than us. That's that's
Bonkers.
tough to swallow because there's just if we didn't get inspiration from the younger generation, I feel like things would just be stagnant in the same way that things have always been. Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
no growth whatsoever. Like things
Completely
are
agree.
changing. It's like if you don't learn to adapt and you don't learn, what the younger people are doing or, draw inspiration from them, then yeah, you're just getting kind of stuck in this like you mentioned, like this kind of
Hmm.
flat playing field. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, crazy. But yeah, switching gears a bit. I'm curious. Let's see. Talk to me a bit about like switching gears completely now that I think about it. Talk to me about you as you live in California and talk to me about what living in California was it or is it
It's
San
Fresno,
Francisco,
California. So
Fresno,
it's like,
Fresno. Thank you.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I was like, I don't think it's, but I know two people in different areas, so I'm trying to connect the dots of where everybody is. And so Fresno, and what was that like living in California during like the beginning of COVID?
Very, very interesting. Just because out of the entire United States, I feel like California's rules for like regulations and also kind of restrictions of what you can and can't do are probably one of the more stricter ones.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, like the pandemic was very interesting. It's weird not seeing your friends or outside family or outside of your immediate family for
Hmm.
what seemed to be 12 plus months. Um,
Jeez.
they were, yeah, like we were pretty much inside. I was living with my parents at the time. I think it was like 24, 20,
Hmm.
23, 24. And, and yeah, it was, I'm trying to think back of like what was going through my head at the time. Just because I was working for the software company, but I did feel like life was kind of stagnant. Like I was living deja vu every single day
Oh,
with the pandemic of just waking up in my bedroom, working in my bedroom, sleeping in my bedroom, and just doing that day after day. But what was nice was thankfully, I would say like every single weekend, my parents would go in the backyard and play some cornhole and stuff, and try to get some sort of normal life.
yeah.
And I had my girlfriend now wife at the time too, which really helped during that period. But
No.
there was a lot of people who had like worse circumstances. They were either completely by themselves
Yeah.
or completely locked up and wasn't able to hang out with friends or see their friends, and they moved away from their hometown and moved to a new big city, and all of a sudden that city's shut down. Like I had a couple friends that moved to San Francisco, and like within a month or two just completely shut down, so they weren't able to meet anybody else except like
Yeah.
their roommates, and even their roommates were like in their own rooms. So uh like for me personally, it was an interesting time. Also in California, we had a bunch of wildfires happening too, so it just seemed a little bit apocalyptic.
Right.
Where we like during the summer it was like 108 degrees outside, and then also we had so much smoke from the Sierra forest
No.
that we literally couldn't see the sun. So it was like hot, smoky. Our cars were getting like covered in ash, and it was like, all right, just come on, keep. And then we were also in a pandemic. It's like, all right, just keep giving it. Why not? Kind of thing. Um, but yeah, I mean, like
No.
overall, I think like it made me appreciate my family and like friends a lot more
Yeah.
afterwards. Where I'm like, wow, like, and I felt like probably a lot of people felt the same. I don't know about you, but like I felt like,
Hmm.
wow, normal life I definitely took for granted. Like, and also I realized how many things I was saying yes to
Mm.
prior to the pandemic that I like
Interesting.
were just like taking my energy and time that like I felt like maybe wasn't the best use of my time or energy. So like post pandemic, I was way more strategic with one, hanging out with friends that like genuinely care about me.
Yeah.
Two, trying to spend more time with family as well. And then also just like trying to slow down life a little bit as well. Where I was just like, go, 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 go. But then, now I say that I'm working a 9 to 5 job and growing my business, but it's a different chapter of my life. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was definitely an interesting time, that's for sure.
Yeah, cool. I was always curious. I'm like, what is it like? What was it like? Because I'm like, well, you see and you hear things, so you just kind of with like internet and news, you try to like. Well, I'm a big fan of formulating my opinion on something based off either going there or talking to people who are there.
Yeah,
So,
and
or
that's the best
were,
way
right?
of doing it, and versus like just like reading an article and like, oh my god, like it's
Yeah,
crazy. Like
you got
or
to
just
avoid
like
that.
just talking to somebody who went through it, or just going there and experiencing it yourself. Yeah, that's definitely the
Hmm.
best way of doing it. So
So, with all the understanding at the time of how you how you operate, like who you like can pull energy from in a positive way, and like how you schedule everything. And my question I'm kind of curious about, especially with people like you specifically in your scenario of like working full time all day and then also working full time after your like the job for and then working for you, what does that schedule look like? Like how focused does that schedule need to be in order to hit those goals?
So pretty much my Monday through Thursday is like purely like no social plans. Working either on the business, filming content. I also work in the 9 to 5. I would
Hmm.
say like so like my typical day, like no matter what, is wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and then either use the first 2 hours of my day either one working out or two working on my business. So that's like when I'm like it's like me time and also like business time.
Hmm.
Um, so I, every single morning, wake up at 5. First 2 hours of the day are dedicated to either my business or working out because both
Yeah,
are very important, especially health.
very.
Like you can never really trade anything for good health.
No,
You
not.
can have all the money in the world, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna live for forever. So
Hmm.
and then 8 to 4 or 8 to 4:30. That's typically when I do my IT project management job. I have to go into the office, and then practically from 4:30 on until about 8:30 or 9, I work on my business. Or yeah, no, I do work on my business, and then I also try to incorporate maybe 30 minutes of editing videos if I film
Nice.
content for the day. And then 9 o'clock, my wife says it's time to shut things off, time to hang out with me
Yeah.
now.
Let's go,
So
honey. It's over.
yeah, literally. So
Yeah.
it's like my days practically it's five
That's
to
funny.
ten, 5 to 7 working on business or working out, eight to 4:30 IT project management job, and then
Hmm.
4:30 on until about 9 business focused task. So
Hmm. Nice.
and then yeah, and then on weekends though, I do make sure like Friday night I'm not working on my business. Like I typically leave that either as like a date night for my wife and I, or go
Nice.
hang
Yeah.
out with friends. And then Saturday and Sunday, I'll typically put in about 2 to 3 hours of work per day. But once again, it's kind of lighter work. It's not too heavy. And
Yeah.
yeah, so
Nice. Keeps everything kind of set up for the weekend or for the week, sorry, following. So then yeah, you're able to actually, wrap your head around everything you got to do because the weeks sound busy for sure, but in a good way.
yeah, yeah. And it's like it took me a while to get into the routine of just waking up consistently at 5, going to bed consistently by like 10. But like once you start doing it for a couple weeks, like it's like you start to get a nice rhythm and like your energy starts to become a little bit more predictable and your
Hmm.
routine starts to become more predictable where it's like you just start to slowly become more efficient and more like, hey, instead of like randomly just waking up at 5 and having no agenda of like items that I need to work on, it's like you're waking up at 5 like the night before. I know exactly what tasks need to be tackled, so that way I have some sort of motivation to get out of bed versus like, hey, I'm gonna wake up at 5 and kind of figure it out. Like I've
Hmm.
also found that that helps make it much more easier to wake up when you actually have something in mind of like, oh, this needs to be done before I go to work today, kind of thing. So.
Nice. Now, do you have uh do you have any advice on people who know that they need to like that might be the discipline that they need to implement in their schedule, that habit of waking up first thing in the morning, like 5 for that chunk of like 5 to 7 or whatever it might be, right? Might be a bit earlier, a bit later, depending on when they start. Doesn't matter. Any advice for anybody waking up before, let's say 6:30 is my like wake up before that, you can get all those focus things done. But what is your advice for waking up super early or early before
Yeah, I would
7?
say like honestly, just start like having like a hard bedtime, like a solid bedtime where you're like, hey, by 10 o'clock, I'm putting away my phone,
Mm,
and I'm just gonna do this every single night. Let's say Monday through Thursday. Let's just start simple. You don't have to do it on the weekends. Let's say you're going out with friends or whatever, like,
yeah,
be easy on yourself.
nice.
My advice would be just slowly ease into it. Maybe one week you're like, hey, I'm gonna try waking up at let's say your typical wake up time is 6:30. I'm gonna
Mhm.
try waking up 2 days this week at 6 o'clock. And
Really?
use those first 30 minutes that I typically don't have, and do it, like use it towards like working out or read a book or journal or work on my business.
Hmm.
And then from there, and maybe the next week, you're doing 3 days a week of waking up at 6. And then, it's a slow, gradual process where I feel like a lot of people who burn themselves out try they try doing everything all at once, and it's
Hmm.
not sustainable, and they
No.
essentially burn themselves out, and then they become discouraged because they're like, this is impossible, and then they just get rid of it and forget about it, ever implementing that type of habit. Where it took me multiple months of like consistently trying to slowly build up waking up at 5 to be like, hey, this is now sustainable, it's easier for me, and also like I got a nice like hard routine where by 10 o'clock every night it's out, no more phone, and so on. So yeah, that's it. Just be easy on yourself. There's definitely mornings where I might wake up and like, wow, my body is absolutely exhausted, my brain is
Hmm.
exhausted, I'm gonna sleep for another hour. Like, I'm still not perfect.
Hmm.
But that's the thing. Like, don't be hard on yourself for the days where you're actually needing some additional rest,
Yeah.
because it takes a while. So that would be my advice for anybody who's trying to get into that routine.
I like that. I like that a lot. I think it's very important, like you said, to not put the stress on yourself of I need to be at it, I need to do this, I need to get up. It's like you do, but if you slip once, that's okay.
Yeah.
You know, and if that's fine. I think it's when you just don't even make the attempt. That's when it's like, oh, I tried it one day and it didn't work. I'm like, well, what did we do? I think if if we're talking, if you're a couple weeks in, you're starting to figure it out, and like there's a day where maybe you can't because something happened, like fine. Yeah, I like that point you made about not being so hard on yourself when like the odd day comes up that you're like, I'm burnt out. This extra hour is gonna make a big difference.
Yep, exactly. You nailed it right on the head too when you said like, I think the biggest difference is like individuals who just stop giving up, or they
Hmm.
just give up, versus like people who are like, I'm going in with the mindset that I'm gonna try to wake up tomorrow at like 6
Yeah.
or 5 or whatever. And they like
Hmm.
they have an alarm. Like they're already intentionally like, hey, I'm gonna try. And let's say I wake up and I'm absolutely pooped, like, hey, you know what? I'll try again tomorrow, and I'm not going to beat
Hmm.
myself up over it because I need the rest. I could feel my body needs the rest. So, yeah, you nailed it, man.
I think too, I remember having to wake up. The gym I was training at, we would have our MMA classes, like our hard sessions, Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, 5:30 to 7 a.m. And then
Yep.
we'd all start around 7:38, whatever. We'd just go do our jobs, whatever, for the rest of the day. Anyways, so what we did was we did that for over a year, and I remember literally every single week for a year. It was like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and it was at the gym like 5:15, whatever. And I remember the biggest thing that helped was because we were like, I don't know, like it's crazy that you're doing that, right? Like it's crazy that you can have that discipline. I'm like, I don't know if it's that much discipline if I like doing it, let alone love doing it. I mean, like if you're doing it for you and it's something you love doing, it's not really that difficult to do it. I mean, you can stay
Yes.
up real late, you can get up real early. You're doing it for you, you're doing it for a greater good, for like, for your future family, to like, everything. So you have all the reasons to do it. And it's not that, doesn't make it that, like, that makes it not that difficult to
Yes.
get up.
100%. And discipline, in my like opinion, is doing the
Mhm.
things that you don't want to do and
No,
expecting like no results because of it.
yeah,
Like
but
the
still
and
doing them
that
anyway.
like the thing, yeah, and the thing is, it might take you discipline to start working out, or it might take you discipline to start on your business.
Yeah,
But
man.
then where the beautiful transition happens is like, once you are disciplined, it starts to change into, oh, I have to do this, to, oh, like I want to do this. And that,
Yeah.
because you're starting to see the results, like that's
Yeah,
where
man.
like discipline transitions into like, now this is a sustainable habit that you built
Hmm.
because you were consistent and you weren't expecting results. And then once you start seeing the results, that's like when you're like, this is why people do these type of things. This is why people implement these type of habits.
Hmm.
So yeah, you nailed that.
It's something I've seen too that you mentioned like a few minutes ago, before we were talking about this discipline aspect of getting up when you like when you do and don't want to do it. It's you said of what you do where you're like, I prepared for the morning following. So that night I'd be like, hey, I have my gym clothes ready. I literally have to get up, put my pants on, grab my bag, and walk out the door. It's the easiest thing ever. I set it up that way. It was like I had a water bottle already made that was next to my bed. Like I had one that was in my bag for the gym that was 2 liters. And then it was
Yeah.
just like, hey, finish this, pull pants up, throw a hoodie on, grab keys, walk outdoor. While it's already in the bag, grab the phone's with the alarm. So I'm like, grab it, throw it all in the bag, go. You have to do so many little things to get there. But I knew once I get there, I'm like, we're good. The lights are bright. Everybody's playing music. Everybody's in a good mood because they also want to be there. So,
Yes.
and then you go through it, and it's not that bad. It ends up working out to be something you're proud of, and then almost get to a point where if you don't do it, I don't know about you, Connor, but when you stop, like if you wake up on the Friday going, I kind of miss my Tuesday 5 a.m. workout, like I miss it now. And you almost that's
Yeah,
when
like,
you
and
know
you
you're like you
like you
did it.
almost feel bad for missing it too, because like
Yeah,
it's like,
man.
like it's like, you've been doing it, and then like, yeah, you're like, like I feel like I need to do something instead if I'm not
Yes,
gonna do
it is
that.
just
So
restless energy right now. Oh, it's because I didn't wake up super early to
yeah,
work out, which is that's when I think you've hit the like your point of you were talking like where you transition over to now it's a habit that I like doing, not something I
yes,
feel I need to do.
absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
you can
No,
enjoy it a bit more.
that's it takes time, but it's
Hmm.
always worth it. Like, and I think people are expecting to like the process like a week of doing it, and
Hmm.
it takes time. It just takes
Yeah,
time. So
like you said, for you is a few weeks anyway, like few weeks of like really like focused and being
yes, I
intentional.
feel like a few weeks. I feel like people need to give themselves a minimum of like 21 days of just
Yeah.
like trying to get after it, and then I feel like by the fourth week they're like, hey, like this is doable. This is
Hmm.
doable. So
Hmm. And it's yeah, in that intentional times, like just push through those first 3 weeks because they're gonna suck no matter what.
yeah. Oh,
Whether it's you burnt out or not, it's like just go through it to get to that pivotal moment you're talking about. And then I think, yeah, let's just move forward. It's super easy. Super easy.
absolutely, dude.
You know. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So tell us about the company more so. Tell us about company name, how you kind of came up with the team, like how everything kind of yeah, how it's looking right now.
Yeah. So the company's name is Babbage.
Hmm.
Sounds like cabbage, but with a B.
I thought so too at first.
Yeah, yeah,
It's like, I think
yeah.
I
So
wanted to call it cabbage at first, but
yeah, and people are like, "What Babbage?" So one of our owners, he's a history geek. Charles Babbage. He's like the inventor of the modern quote unquote computer. He's like,
mhm,
guys, we got to do it. I'm like, I was throwing out a bunch of other names, and he was just adamant about it. I'm
I
like,
love
okay,
it.
I'll let you have this one. I get to call the shots on a lot of other things. I'll let you have this.
Yeah,
We'll go with it. And then like we can always change our name later if we really want
sure.
to.
Yeah.
But yeah, we are Babbage is a web app and AI automation startup. So for the first year and a half, so pretty much 2024 and 2025, we primarily focused on building websites, which transitioned to mobile apps, which then transitioned to us getting into AI and automations and building CRMs, which we
Mhm,
are at now. So like a majority of our projects, I would say like 95% plus are like websites and apps, and then like some automations.
mhm,
Now we're starting to really focus on AI automation, AI implementation, AI data analysis, all that good stuff. But like before I kind of go into that, in regards to how we got founded, this is going to be once again a kind of a crazy story.
I love it.
Dude, in college, I was actually I call it a male nanny.
Oh no.
And during the school year, during the summers, I'd work as an irrigation manager on an almond farm. Dude, working like waking up at 3 a.m., working till about 5 p.m. So it was like 12, 14-hour days. But essentially, this family that I quote unquote managed for, they they were in the agricultural business and owned the almond farm and almond processor.
Okay.
I pretty much said, hey, like this is a really great gig during the school year, but like, can you guys score me an internship at the company? Because this is like what I want to get into. And like,
Nice.
they're like, absolutely, Connor, that would be great. Every single summer, you go do that. And then in the school year, if you want, you could continue, doing this Manny stuff because it's flexible, whatever. So I built a really great relationship with um, the parents, and they just, I love their kids, I love their family, and essentially I became part of their family.
Nice.
So through college, they stayed in touch with me, and then post college, they're just like, Connor, hey, if you need anything or need a job, like, we know plenty of people, or we would even not just hire you at our company. But naturally, I went my own path, went to software, and the dad there, he had a couple concepts, or he was investing in a couple companies, and he's like, Connor, I know you're IT project manager at a software company. Would you be interested in essentially hiring a developer and helping us build this platform? And the platform was called Act Educate. It's California's first uh, fully verified and registered online fire sprinkler fitter training program.
Wow.
That yeah, no, it's a mouthful, but essentially allows people to get verified online if they're going to be installing fire sprinkler in like commercial buildings or apartment buildings.
It's the most specific thing I've ever heard.
Dude, very niche.
Wow.
I was like, I don't know if this is gonna make any money, man. But like, hey, you know what? We're down for it. It's gonna be a great experience, whatever. And I mean, they're profitable now, and they're like a thriving company, which is awesome. But like,
of course,
it was like essentially that was the project that really kicked off the start of Babbage. We weren't like we worked on that project for about 3 to 4 years. And then after the 4th year, we're like, let's start a company. Like, come on, guys. Like, what are we doing here? Like, let's start a company. We built this insane platform that took us 3 to 4 years to build. Like, if we could build this, we could build websites for people. We could build apps for people. Like, this thing is like as sophisticated as it comes. So that was really the turning point of like that project. After we wrapped it up, is like, okay, we can do it for this company. We could do other startups and other small to medium sized businesses, and we kind of just hit the ground running from there. So yeah, built a really great relationship with a developer out in Arizona over the past 4 years. It's kind of like a weird and cool way that I ended up meeting him. I know at the beginning of the podcast I mentioned that I was coming up with like a social media concept to help kind of increase engagement with like your closest friends and family. And originally I contracted a junior developer to like help build that. And he was like, hey man, like I have a buddy out in Arizona. He also does development. Would love to bring him on. And so they were working for me for about 2-3 months. And I was promising them essentially sweat equity. But long story short, I was like, guys, like let's pause on this. We have another project that we could actually start making money on immediately. Like let's dive into that. And the original developer that introduced me to the guy out in Arizona ended up about 2 years into the project saying, guys, this is not for me, appreciate the experience, but I'm out of here. So now been business partners essentially with this guy for 4 or 5 years, or have had this working relationship with this guy. And yeah, we've just been through the thick of it, of client projects, roadblocks have occurred, and just everything in between. And he's just been sticking around, and he's like, guys, I see the light at the end of the tunnel. I know that what we're building is much bigger than any job that I could get. And that's why like I've been sticking around. And so like you gotta find people like that if you're gonna partner with anybody who's like seeing the bigger picture versus just like, hey guys, I can't do this because I can make way more money doing another gig than like this.
Yeah.
So it's been an absolute blessing having him as part of the team because because I'm working the 9 to 5 job, he's
Yeah.
able to continue development during the workday for all these
Amazing.
large scale projects. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
the Manny story to Act Educate to meeting this guy out in Arizona is kind of how Babbage came together. We started saying, hey, you know what? If other people could do it, so can we. So
Man, I love it. And it's crazy. I was just thinking about this as you're going diving into it. I'm like, it's things like what you're telling me and people like you, which is why I'm grateful like I have this podcast because you're on like you got your finger on the pulse. You've been through some stuff and you just got such a good positive constructive attitude towards things and you see like you have understanding of the bigger picture. You've aligned yourself with people who have similar vision and they can all see it and it's just that's inspiring to me. I know like I'm younger, but I'm like, that's inspiring to me. So being able to see like that and be like, oh man, this guy's like, he's got it down and you're just on it. And that's awesome, man. So I'm really grateful I'm able to like have this discussion and like hear
no,
from you about all
appreciate
this.
that, man. I
This is
appreciate the
cool.
kind words.
Of course, of course. So with that, I would I think I'd like to conclude, but before we do you have anything you'd like to kind of say to wrap up, a lesson, experience, story you wish you would have wish we would have dove into, or anything you wish we would have talked about before we wrap it up with it?
Yeah, I would say for anybody who's thinking about starting a business or who's wanting to start a side hustle or anything, just know that you don't have to have anything sold to start a business or to sell a product.
Mm,
A lot of the like an example of this is we were advertising that we were a automation firm without having a automation built for an actual client. Like we had automations internally that we built that and we knew we were capable of building them out.
yeah,
But a lot of people are like, hey, like I have to create like 1,000 practice projects or I have to do 1,000 things internally or take 1,000 courses to make sure that I'm really ready to take on projects.
yeah,
Just know that the best way of selling a service is selling it to somebody and then figuring it out afterwards. Um, like you
yes,
just like you don't have to have it all figured out. Like you will be determined enough to figure it out the minute you get a contract signed and you know, oh, this is real. Shit, I gotta kind of figure this out now. And it
mhm,
doesn't matter if you're doing the work. It doesn't matter if you find a contractor to do the work. As long as you're providing quality work at the end of it, and you don't care, like the client doesn't care how it gets done, as long as it gets done, that's all that matters. So I would say sometimes just bite off more than you can chew, and that's where your biggest lessons will come, and also your gross, the biggest pain points and growing points will also occur. So
amazing. Amazing. That's awesome. I think I think that'll resonate with a lot of people needing that just to say a bit more push, like you said, needing that, oh, I need all this. You don't really. If you have a good like direction and like you said, a good team, then you'll figure out how to chew. It might be easier
uh,
too if you split the pieces up. Like you never
yeah,
know.
exactly. And the thing is, like a lot of people too. Just one more thing that I would like
Yeah,
to
for
say
sure.
is people will develop these solutions. You'll see a ton of this online. People will spend months developing these types of solutions for companies
Hmm.
and trying to sell them on this solution without ever hearing the company's pain points.
Mm,
And instead of trying to uh, prescribe a company like a specific solution, like you want to first hear their pain points first, and then you might realize, oh, what I just spent 1,000 hours trying to develop, they actually need something way simpler, and we actually need to go
mm,
a completely different direction. So just
interesting.
for those, yeah, just for those who are, in that kind of analysis paralysis state of just like, oh, I just need to create one more tweak to my software. I just need to learn one more thing. Like, just dive into it. You'll
Mm,
figure it out. You'll hear what actual pain points are from companies, and you'll be very surprised of what solutions actually need to be implemented.
Amazing. I mean, yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself, man. That's awesome. It's funny, that's something that, man, that is the exact phrase that two people have used with me in a conversation, and I've used with people in the last, like, since moving here. I've been like, just don't overthink it. Just don't get in your head. Don't think you need to have all these things. Well, what are we going to do for it? Don't. Just, if somebody presents you something interesting, think about it, be open to that, don't overthink it. They're like, well, I can't because. Don't start with that. It's like, like,
No,
hear it, give it a chance, see it through if it's something for you, right? So that's cool. You hit that on the head. I'm like, this feels like a pretty common theme in the last, like, for me and like the lady here just start moving. So we're like, huh.
yeah,
Everybody can give you a million reasons why not to do something. But as long as you have the
exactly.
one, or you get the right information to go the right way, then yeah. I love that. It's crazy that you said it. So I was like, oh wait, man, this is something that's come up so much. It's crazy if I don't, if I don't make that, point that out. I'm like, man, everybody's talking about this. It might be a very important lesson. Hmm.
Yeah, very common theme. Yeah, we as humans naturally overthink, and it's incredible what happens when we just go for it and trust our gut, and we will find a way to figure things out. Doesn't matter how hard it is, we will figure out how to get it done. But the very first step is literally taking that first step, and then like, oh, okay,
Mhm.
let's do this thing. So
I love it. Well, Connor, with that, I'll roll out the red carpet. Where can people work with you, connect with you, hear more, see more from you? Yeah, lay it all out. Where can people find you?
awesome. Oh yeah. So if you guys want to follow my journey of working a 9 to 5 while trying to build up my startup, go give me a follow at Startup Connor. So I'm on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube Shorts.
Let's
So yeah, that's where I'm kind of documenting my day to day, just so for anybody who's interested or wants to see what's possible if you're working a 9 to 5 job and kind of some of the things that I do or routines that I do. That's those are some great channels. And then for my company, Babbage, my company's website is going to be babbagellc.com. So that's where you could go if you're interested in they're working with me, or you just have questions about our company. You could always submit a form there, or you could always just direct message me on any of the social media channels as well.
nice. That's easy. Yeah, man. I think unless you have anything else to add, that's pretty much a wrap for this one, man. I will say I'm very grateful, man. I was able to talk with you today. I feel I took away stuff, and I only know I know my audience will take away that much and that much more. So yeah, man. I'm really grateful, and I appreciate everything you had to say today. Thank you very much, man.
Hey man, I'm also very grateful. I was gonna say this is my very first podcast ever.
Nice,
So thanks for hosting me, man, and thanks for also reaching out to me
of
via
course.
social media. I was like, hey, I feel important, this guy wants
Yeah,
to
let's
wants to learn
go.
a little bit more about me. So I was like,
Let's
hey,
go.
anytime, I'm always open to having conversations, even if it's just brainstorming business ideas. But yeah, this was super fun. It was great having, just chatting about all things with you, and just all the lessons I've learned over over the years. So
That's awesome. Well, dude, yeah, man. I appreciate it.